and welcome to New Game Plus. My name's Jack Ranjanan, and we've got a chock-a-block show for you coming up tonight. Actually, we're going to be talking about the Agents of Mayhem review that Jason and Jamie did. That's coming up a little bit later, as well as an interview with Joshua Meadows, who has recently backed his project on Kickstarter as well. That's coming up a little bit later in the program, but for now we're going to talk about some of the recent gaming headlines, and to do that, I've got a panel of experts with me. You wouldn't guess, but they're experts. Tom, video games.
Hello, hello. Good to be here.
Jason?
Sorry, it's my first time on television.
Oh, I never would have guessed. Goodness. And Jamie.
Hi, is this the interview? This is where we get the thing going?
Ooh, tough crowd, tough crowd. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. To the first story for tonight. A gameplay video uploaded by outlet GamesBeat has sparked discussion online as to whether those in games media should be good at playing games. In the half-hour video, lead writer Dean Takahashi is shown struggling to keep up with almost the entirety of Cuphead's demo at Gamescom. What followed were commentators on social media like Ian Miles Chung of the Daily Caller slamming the state of games coverage, writing, quote, "Game journalists are incredibly bad at video games. It's painful to watch this. How do they think they're qualified to write about games?" So,
Can I cut in first?
Yes.
Email Strong is trash, so let's just clear that up right
Ian
now.
Miles, yeah,
Okay,
that's fair.
so let's just clear that right now. It's funny that he's having a shot at games journalists when, whatever, it doesn't matter. To the point.
Yes.
Right. I think in a general setting, it's fine. I think if you have a situation where you are discussing the aesthetics of a game, or you're discussing the culture of a game, or you're discussing like a job loss or something similar
stuff
to that.
outside of the mechanics.
Correct.
Right.
I think that's fine. I think 100% that is fine. There is no issue there whatsoever. When you play something like Cuphead, which is a technical, like very
much focused on the technical and mechanics side
correct.
of things. Yeah.
It's a bullet hell, basically. It's a bullet hell. So if you are playing a game like that, it needs to be of a certain level of quality. Like you need to be able to play it. I use another enthusiast press, car journalism.
Right.
If you're talking about the drive of a car, but you don't have a shift manual, then I'm not going to take your word on how the car drives. Especially if we're talking about how fast it can go, what it can do, how fast it can turn. The technical specs, your opinion doesn't count then. Doesn't count, but it has less gravitas behind it. But if you want to talk about how a car looks, no worries.
And
that's fine.
within the context of the article and the video at this point, it might have, I believe we were talking earlier, it was originally about Cuphead is really difficult to play. In its current form, it's kind of making, like, the editor is sort of presenting it in jest.
Correct.
They're being kind of funny, and so in this sort of situation, you can't really
But was it more as a reaction to what's happened or beforehand?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like, we don't know if changing it to look at how funny, how bad I am at this game was after what Miles Chung had actually said. But I mean, do you think that within the context of let's try and make something funny, that this still works?
Well, there's always been money in being bad at video games online.
So basically, Ian just needs to get over it.
Oh, not necessarily.
Over a lot of things.
It was legitimately, if you watch the footage, it was a literal barrier for entry.
Right.
It was like you put two ideas. You got to do jump and dash.
Yeah.
And you've got to put those two together. It might have been they didn't translate it properly. Didn't like, hey, this is the process. You got to do both simultaneously.
That is the
That's
thing
fair.
I have seen from a lot of game developers about that.
Absolutely. But the fact is that he continuously tried the same thing and nothing worked. Like, you've got to put like, oh, this is not working. This is not working. Let's try something, not just like run the wall. That's not going to work.
But plus there's also that idea that there are certain skills that you would expect people who are playing this kind of games have.
That's
you
fair.
hold a button longer, generally you jump for longer. Mario had
You'd
that.
expect
that
an
was literally the groundbreaking phenomenon that Mario had. Was the longer you held the jump button and you could move.
You'd expect an understanding of some of this.
And so look, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's fine. I just think because of the type of game, it's more. I guess it's more a discussion that's worthwhile for that. But again, if we're discussing like Dear Esther, well, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
like, how hard is it to push forward? You know what I mean?
That's
that's fine because the game itself doesn't need those gameplay phenomena to be good.
To make a splash.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Sea of Thieves still doesn't have a release date, but at least it's planned to launch with, quote, no asterisk crossplay. The marketing term used by Rare is in reference to inclusivity across PCs of all shapes and sizes. Launching with support for wide field of view options, 4K resolution, and 60 frames a second, the developers are also making an effort to bring Sea of Thieves to low-end hardware with a 540p mode and 15 FPS frame lock. PC design lead Ted Timmons said, quote, "It's below our Rare certified minimum spec, but if you're enjoying the game, why should we as developers knock you for that?" End quote. The first thing that I jumped to actually was that that's what the Vita was probably playing most of its things at 540p, 15 FPS. I guess
There's a conversation there about 15 FPS.
Oh.
If that's turning a game into a turn-based RPG.
That's like a surprising thing. Like I get the 540p thing. Like that makes it's weird, and like I would love to see what that looks like.
we were
such a
playing
res.
stuff in standard definition for years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the 15 frames thing is just that's really surprising. Like I don't know what Sea of Thieves looks like. I haven't really seen much of it since E3.
Yeah.
But it's like that seems like the kind of game you really can't play like that. And I know I don't want to be a frame rate stop because God, it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah,
but it's like there's a certain level which
It doesn't seem. The thing is, Sea of Thieves doesn't seem like quite as much of a hyper sort of competitive game.
It's not like Street Fighter. You don't
No,
need to have
exactly.
60 frames a second.
Yeah, it's like
It's more of a TF2 situation from what I saw. It was very much cooperative versus a general threat like man versus machine.
But even still, though, for that, you'd probably need a stable frame rate to keep up with everybody.
Yeah,
right?
for the most part, I saw obviously weapons and obviously close combat
in Sea of Thieves.
in Sea of Thieves
Yeah.
and eating bananas without taking the skin off. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But that's fine. It just
can do that, you know.
I know,
It's
but
you're
nasty. It comes down to the fact is like, is that even playable at 15 frames?
The thing,
like,
well,
if
look,
they're offering it, has to
Look,
be
I'm not sure if you played the
playable.
PSP. All right, like some of those, like Phantasy Star 2.
I got the Switch. That's a new PSP.
Oh, it's the original PSP, like Phantasy Star Portable was running at 20. The multiplayer mode was running at 20 FPS locked, and it's a matter of like for some people they might be particularly sensitive to something like lower frame rate. Some people, I mean, PC gamers are notorious for being like, "Where's that 60 FPS?" I'm not going to get much into that, but like the thing is, it's different things to different people.
Look, I play EDF, so I can't pick on anyone for frame rate because the second you start doing 7, 8 explosions that are taking up half the city, the game chokes.
Sorry, EDF on Vita.
Well,
PS4.
both, but all of them.
there
Like
we go.
I love
Oh,
EDF.
it's all
It's one
bad.
of my favorite series.
Okay,
It's
right.
not bad. It's an awesome game, but the thing is, like the frame rate chugs. But because it's like cooperative, it doesn't matter as much. You
Yeah,
know? Like,
exactly.
We're not competing against each other, so if the frame rate, if anything, it adds almost to the gravitas of the explosion. That, whoa, the explosion was so big it bent reality.
Well, yeah,
time.
let's hope to God that's what the Just Cause 3 devs thought as well. 8 days. Beautiful. 8 days following the launch of the PC launch of Sonic Mania, the anti-tamper technology Denuvo has since been removed from the game. Other titles launched with Denuvo like Rime, Resident Evil 7, and Tekken, those were cracked in less than 5 days after release. And in the case of Rime, the developers deliberately removed Denuvo from the official version once it was cracked. Sega, at the time of writing, has yet to remove Denuvo from the official version on Steam. The interesting thing is, some of the articles that I was pulling from when writing this story, they were like, the pirated version is the definitive version. Like, what is the difference at this point? It's like the Denuvo isn't there.
Well, because you've got to connect it. It's got its own kind of
It's always
back-end
online.
stuff.
It's
always
DRM.
going. Yeah. So
Right.
the big thing is the reason that people still put Denuvo on stuff in is because, as we know in the current industry, you sell all your games in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So the longer you can delay any pirates getting their hands on it, the idea is the more you're saving your sales. I mean,
And
there's
so
an
they're
argument.
eight days up in this instance.
Yeah.
And I mean, the argument there is, are you actually protecting any sales? Blah blah blah. I think, yeah, it is that case of some people wouldn't buy a game, and this is where a lot of games move to online to combat that because you have to have a real version of the game when you're playing online. It'll ping service to check that. Blah 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 blah. Now that it's gone, what's the point in keeping it? Like, you're not making any more sales out of it. You watch, they'll start discount. They'll do a Bethesda. Bethesda, after 2 weeks, sells the game for basically half price, and then they sell it at half
It's
price
a
again.
situation where the people that are buying it legitimately are in kind of.
I already bought it, and they're in the
Yeah.
position to buy it anyway. And I mean, realistically, they'll still sell. You know, Sonic Mania did really well, and I hope it does even better because it was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
But they would have made the bulk of their sales. Every sale from this point onwards has to be discounted.
Yeah.
We live in that world, whether we like it or not. We live in that world.
Well, at least we know, Dome didn't pirate it. We're going to be coming back after the break very, very soon, talking about Agents of Mayhem on New Game Plus. Stick around to see that after the break. Welcome back to New Game Plus. My name's Jack Ranjanen. You were watching earlier. We've just come back from the break. We were talking about some of the gaming news headlines recently. We've also done a review of Agents of Mayhem, kind of like a Saints Row game, but not quite like a Saints Row game. Jason and Jamie did that review. Check it out. We'll be back in a moment to discuss what they had to say.
Quite a bit has happened since Volition released Saints Row 4 back in 2013. They got finally fully bought out by Deep Silver. Some key people had left the company, but it's a new year, it's a new time, we have new consoles, PC technology is better than ever, so we have Agents of Mayhem, the next game from Volition, and it's perhaps one of 2017's most interesting games, Jason?
So I guess okay, so obviously it comes from the Saints Row pedigree.
Yes.
So people either love or hate Saints Row, and they either love or hate the correct one. Of course, number 2 being the best one, number 2 being the best one. But 3 and 4 had their own unique shtick on it, right? So number 4 went a little bit more superhero-y.
Yep.
Then we had Gad Out of Hell, which was literally Johnny Gad in Hell, right? I mean, hey, whatever, like it works. So we've got Johnny Gat in Hell for that one. They do go quiet. There's just nothing for ages. Then suddenly, woof, from the ashes, suddenly Volition have made Agents of Mayhem, which is not as much of a Saints Row game as you would think, and yet at the same time it can't let go of the Saints Row pedigree.
Yeah, it's crazy to think like, okay, here is this brand new game that they're positioning as this whole new thing, and you're staring at purple all the time. There's a fleur-de-lis everywhere, and 3 of the characters are straight-up Saints Row characters. So it's like, guys, are you making Saints Row again? Because that's cool, but if you're making this new thing, it doesn't feel like it has its own identity.
So, and I guess that is the thing. It is basically alt history Saints Row.
Yep.
So Pierce is still in it.
Yep.
Julius isn't in it.
Yep.
So basically the Saints don't exist. There's never the war. There's never the 3 factions. There's never that pathway to go down.
Now it's just this weird, almost 80s cartoon where you have like this group
it's
of
gone
heroes.
for like Cobra Commando, like G.I. Joe kind of thing.
Like you have these characters with these unique personalities, like you got the selfish Hollywood actor, or you got the roller derby girl, or you got the...
Like the ninja, like...
Yeah. But it feels like they want to go in this kind of this crazy 80s direction. Like they have the PSAs, they have the gadgets, they have the crazy armored goons and all that kind of stuff. But they never go down that path enough. Like it feels like they want to go in this direction, but then they want to go edgy at the same time.
They don't commit to it.
It never works. Like it takes a while for me to really get into the game, because then it feels like they get more comfortable with the game. It takes a while to get into it, and I don't think it works super well.
Right. So I guess the question becomes, is the gameplay still there? Because, I mean, obviously the big thing with Saints Row was the gameplay. You had all the different varied missions, you had all the silliness, all the craziness. And I mean, if that's not there, like, what's it bringing that's not Crackdown? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause Crackdown 2 sucked. Like, let's be real. Like, Crackdown 1 was an awesome collectathon. Crackdown 2, not so good a game.
It has meter management and it has debuffs, and that's kind of the extent of a lot of the gameplay, a lot of the shooting. You have an open world, but it's a really tiny open world, which is fine.
But I don't mind that. I think sometimes people go too big with their open worlds.
Yeah.
Like they should they should specialize in areas and make unique kind of things. But I mean, like if there's what stands out about the game, if there was a point that you had to say in your mind stood out about the game, what would you say that it is?
Honestly, the fact that there is still that emphasis on mobility.
Yeah.
Because every character universally has a triple jump, which is cool because, hey, triple jumps are the coolest thing in the world. It would be helpful if every character also had an air dash, because I want every game to be anime.
Yeah, right.
But other than that, like, that's just the thing. Like, it has this, it feels like it wants to be this idea. It wants to be everything. Like, it is so close to this idea that I want this game to be this thing, but it never really gets to that point. And I feel like it's one of those games where, God, if they had a sequel, it would be amazing, but will it come to that? Who knows?
A lot to talk about. Very interested to hear your thoughts, Jason. Still got you around.
Yes, hello.
Jamie had to bounce because it was bedtime.
After 10 he turns into a pumpkin. So.
Yeah. But you're still here, Tom. Thank you so much for sticking around.
Good.
So what are your guys' experience with the Saints Row series? Was like all those Volition-y games?
I think I was born on 2 and then I went back to 1 because I had 360, but I think 1 was so weird. Like I only played the demo, and then I very much enjoyed up to 3 was and 4 I kind of saw it and I kind of was like I'm not very much enjoying
What
it.
about you, Jack?
Saints Row, I never really got into, to be honest. I kind of dabbled with like a mate's copy of Saints Row, and Saints Row 3 in particular. There were like I saw some of the more story. It's
a meme
stuff.
game.
Yeah, it is.
So basically, the first one was basically a straight up, we want to make a San Andreas game.
Yeah.
It was what it was. So it was hardcore gangster rap community, missing the point of San Andreas, which was a kind of a dissection of 90s rap culture. Doesn't matter. It's me going a bit wanky. Number 2 was the best game of that year, hands down. You were the sane in this crazy world with all this strange stuff happening, and it worked as a result. 3 was a meme game, 4 shouldn't have been a Saints Row game. So we come to Agents of Mayhem, where it's like, it's still the same world, but it's like, not? I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, you were talking about how it's a superhero style game.
It's the closest you're going to get to an Avengers game. Like, so every character has their own different things. Even the costumes are memey. So there's like, one of the characters is called Yeti. He's like a Russian dude.
Right.
He's like, one of his costumes is purple pants and green skin, and he's the Incredible Yeti. Get it? Like, it's a meme.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
it's okay because it's dumb and it's harmless meme. It's not trying to take over the storyline or anything like that. It's actually...
But Jamie's point was that it didn't really land the comedy or the sort of vibe.
So he's big. I think the big issue he took with it was it tried to do the Cobra Commando, like a cartoon, 80s cartoon kind of thing. I think it nailed it better than the more I've played it, and I've played it a lot more since we've done the review. Like I put in another 35, 40 hours since.
Right.
The more I play it, the more I enjoy it. But I can see how someone would not enjoy it as much as I do.
Yeah. Do you think the stick has run through when you've gone to that point? Do you think the gimmick is over? Because I understand the fact it's like, oh, it's a reference, great. But do they in the way does it like service it, or is it like a crutch?
I don't think it's not a crutch, and I hate that. I hate that meme. All we've got is references. Let's just throw them out.
Big Bang Theory.
Bazinga.
I'm not allowed to say that word. Anyway. I don't think it's like that. My thing is like it does a really good. So it is literally multicultural action task force, and some things do it really well, and some things don't. Ant-Man, I fucking hated in Ant-Man. It was like so obviously like tacked on. But in this, it does a really good job. Like you've got like Indians, you've got Sikh, like you've got two like one from Mumbai and like Punjabi.
Right.
You've got like German, you've got Russian, obviously, all that kind of stuff. East Asian, Southeast Asian, so they do a decent job of making them their own characters without going down those real obvious tropes. Like
yeah, I was about to say
people, not just a joke.
And it really does a good job of not being. And if anything, the ones they're making the tropes out of is like the Europeans, because and it's fine. If anything, the worst translations of the Europeans, like the German accent, is the worst thing I've ever heard. Like the worst thing I've ever heard. Like you could do like camp gay German from like Hogan's Heroes, and it's more realistic. Like it was, but that's probably my biggest complaint about the game. Yet, like I still love playing it because they all play so differently, and everyone has their own unique skills and things.
So in terms of playing, because you were talking more there towards like the themes and the way that the game presents those themes. In terms of the gameplay, it's not just sort of fetch questy, looty.
It is and it isn't. So like all of them have their own little story quests where they introduce their characters and they do this and do that. But you know what you're doing, it's the same thing. And the scaling of the enemies is very similar to what you expect from a Destiny or a Fallout 4 or a Borderlands or whatever. Borderlands.
Iconic.
So it's the same things, but I don't find it quite as hokey. Like I think they do a decent job of introducing that. I don't know, like I'm really enjoying it, but at the same time, I like the fact that it's not competitive multiplayer, and I think that's what always draws me from a lot of those games. It's like, oh, we better chuck in a multiplayer mode. I'm like, no, I'm happy playing this by myself and just grinding the hell out.
If I wanted to play an MMO, I'd go and play an MMO.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely on your end, recommend?
The more I play it, the more I enjoy it, but I can see I'm going to hit a wall soon. So you're going to get 40, 50 hours out of it if you grind, and you could probably go more if you want 100%, but we'll see.
Out now on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, I believe.
I believe it's this way, yeah.
Agents of Mayhem, there it is. Stick around, we'll be back right after this with an interview with Joshua Meadows. Hello and welcome back to New Game Plus. We've just come back from the Agents of Mayhem. I always go to forget the name of that game, actually. Agents of Mayhem, don't call it Saints Row. Earlier in the program, we were talking about the news of the week. You'll be able to find those on our YouTube channel and on the website. You can hear more about that later on in the show. But for now, we've got Joshua Meadows with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Alcyone. I look at it and I'm like, I'm not going to say this right.
Yeah, I really helped my SEO, I think, with that name.
Not searched very often, yeah. So Alcyone, the full title is...
Alcyone, the Last City.
Right, and recently you've gone to Kickstarter with that title, is that right?
Yes, I wrapped up a Kickstarter. It finished in the beginning of May.
Right.
And successful, thankfully. And I was seeking $5,000 and managed to raise just over $8,000. So I hit all of my stretch goals, which I was very pleased about.
Right. I guess in a 1 or 2 sentence sort of length, what is Alcyone? What can audiences sort of look forward to in the game?
So it's a science fiction, interactive fiction video game. So sort of like an interactive novel. Kind of the choices that the player makes directs the story. So it's a perfect game for people who are fans of strong narratives, player choice, driven action sequences
Right.
and all of that stuff.
And so in terms of visually, the game would be, you specifically said sort of interactive fiction.
Yeah.
We're not talking sort of like a visual novel style.
No, it's closer to, yeah, definitely sort of a novel that does have visual elements.
There's a very strong focus on the writing.
Yeah,
Right.
it does have a full soundtrack, and it also features really gorgeous hand-painted artwork as well. But yeah, it's definitely a book.
Fair enough, fair enough. In terms of some of the stuff behind Alcyone, some of those details were up on the Kickstarter. You were there as sort of the front man for what the project is going to be.
Yeah.
I recall you were in charge of, involved with writing in some capacity and some other parts of the game?
I'm the lead writer and the lead developer.
Right.
So I'm doing the bulk of the writing, and I'm doing the bulk of the development, the programming, and all of that. I did have some additional programming, and obviously the music and the art I'm not doing because I can't draw stick figures. But yeah, the writing is the primary, my primary role.
Right. On social media, like we've had a few interactions about your previous work in writing and within the creative field. I guess for sort of audiences that might not be so familiar with you, what's some of the work that you might have done in the past that people might be familiar with?
So I do a lot of contract and freelance writing.
Right.
At the moment, I produce a science fiction novella series. I've been doing that since about 2010.
Right.
It was a quarterfinalist in the 2012 Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award competition.
Right.
And that's more of my personal fiction sort of work. In video games, one of the most recent things I did was a adventure game produced by a London studio called City Run London,
Right.
which was a sort of adventure sort of puzzle game featuring the art designed by I'm completely forgetting the artist's name.
Right.
He did the some of the album covers for Muse and Pink Floyd.
Ah, right.
The music was done by the composer who handled the London Olympics. So it was a pretty impressive cast, and then they hired me, and I'm like, do you? Do you not, I'm not quite on that level, but that was I was the lead writer for that project, and that was quite exciting. But I've done, script cleanup work and contract stuff for shit ton of games. Can I say shit ton?
Hopefully at this point. In terms of Alcyone, the Kickstarter has been fully funded.
Yeah.
When, in terms of the sort of roadmap, are you looking at a beta release, a pre-release version, or the final release? When is that sort of potentially going to be in your mind?
The plan is to release just before Christmas this year. So the alpha is going to start soon, and there's still pre-orders for that on alcyonegame.com. And yeah, so far the plan releases in sometime in December.
And you've also got a demo live?
Yeah. From the website as well, there's the demo that's got 2 of the initial areas.
Yeah.
So about half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on your reading speed.
Fair enough. Well, in that case, I wish you all the best with it. Thank you so much for coming on, Joshua.
Thank you so much for having me.
That actually wraps it up for the show this week. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we'll be able to bring you very, similar sort of style, situation, deal in the future. Until then, though, make sure that you check us out on everything you have. That's facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV and twitter.com/NewGamePlusTV. We post every 4 seconds with announcements and anniversaries and everything. If you want to catch up on previous stuff or potentially new stuff as well in terms of video, you can check us out on twitch.tv/NewGamePlusTV for streams every week, as well as youtube.com/NewGamePlusTV and the website at newgameplus.tv. But for now, that's all from us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.